Welcome into another week-ending edition of Big Ten basketball and beyond. Rick Pizzo joined, as always, by Rafael Davis, Mike DeCourcy, Coach John Beilein. 4 men's games on the Sunday schedule. Get to all of them, have reaction and analysis as well. Ohio State women clinch at least a share of the Big Ten regular season title. And I'm not sure if you fellas have heard, one of the hot topics in college basketball this week, court storming. The for and against discussion, debate, and disagreement all on the way. But we start with the number 3 team in the nation, Purdue, on the road to face Michigan. Wolverines come out swinging early. Doug McDaniel, home game, playing over Zach Edey. That means it had some serious elevation on it. McD had 19 points and 6 dimes. Michigan up 6 early. Here come the Boilers. Lance Jones flying, tipping, scoring. Purdue takes its first lead at 23-22. Then Edey taking over. Will Cheddar had been battling an illness, wasn't quite himself. Then again, you could battle against just about anybody. You're not going to have much good against Zach Edey. Purdue up by 4. Cheddar on the offensive rebound. He'll take N1. Edey would miss the free throw. Purdue up by 11. You see the illness there. Absolutely exhausting Cheddar. First half winding down. It's Edey who goes glass as well. At 19 in the first half. Purdue up by 11 at the break. And Rafael, I hate to sound like a broken record, but Zach Edey is better than everybody else.
It's just mouse in the house every single time. It doesn't matter if it's Terrence Reed. It doesn't matter if it's Will Cheddar. It is barbecue chicken when Zach Edey catches that basketball on the block. He was dominant all afternoon long. 35 points, 15 rebounds, 7 of them on the offensive end. Michigan had no answer.
He did it by going 14 of 18 from the field. Do the math, carry the 1. It tells me that's a pretty high percentage. As Purdue goes on to win it 84-76, the Boilers now 14-3 through their first 17 games. Michigan head man Juwan Howard saying, what on earth are we going to do against this guy?
Well, we threw everything at Zach and his teammates. We threw everything in the kitchen sink. You know, we zoned, we doubled, played one-on-one, man. He scored 35 points. He probably would score 35 on me, too. You know, but what does not show up on the box score is heart. And our guys play with heart. And if they had heart, you know, here as something that was in this box score, I think we would have won when it came to heart.
Have to give Michigan credit because they played Purdue really difficult. This game was in doubt until the last couple of minutes, but there was no doubt that Zach Edey was the best player on the floor. I know he's unguardable, Mike, because he's 7'4", but sometimes I think that takes away from just how skilled he has truly become.
Yeah, I think people take it for granted and think it's just because he's tall. And look, there's lots of tall guys in college basketball. Jamarian Sharp's a very tall guy, very good player, but he's not Zach Edey. What I was thinking about, you're looking at Oscar Robertson, Jerry Lucas, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Pete Maravich, Bill Walton, Ralph Sampson. That's the list now, and in a month it'll be Zach Edey, too, of 2-time National Player of the Year.
Pretty good list.
That's a great list, and he's showing you why. The ability to finish in tight. He's so good at getting positioning. He did that catch was unbelievable. That's what really sealed it for me. That catch was a ridiculous catch. He was fouled after he caught it. He made the free throws. He had a fantastic day, 35 points, 14 of 18 field goals. Just magnificent.
I hear Coach Howard talking about the heart they play with. They also played zone the whole game. And here's why it can work, right? Because you should have some people in position. But Purdue is so good at feeding the post that they just move the ball around until they could get him in a one-on-one situation. And what's another thing that does not do well against the zone is rebounding. Yep. Really hard. So he is really good as what I call a wedge. The guy, ball you man, he gets on the backside, wedges his body in, and every rebound on the backside is his. And he does, and he's so big he does that. But good choice to try and go zone and mix some things up, but it gave up a lot of offensive rebounds. And it's the wrong team maybe to zone as they proved it the way they fed the post.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach. When you play a zone, you don't have rebound responsibilities, and Purdue took full advantage of that. They got 17 offensive rebounds, led to 24 second chance points. So when Purdue doesn't shoot it well from deep, they have the ability to go get their own rebounds and their own missed shots. They got 50% of their misses off the glass today, just big time. And you think of Braden Smith. Messed around and almost had a triple-double. 11 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds. He was sensational, just controlling the pace of the game. When every time Michigan made a push, Braden Smith got Purdue into something, and he got them a big-time basket. I love the confidence that Braden Smith is playing with going into March.
Purdue did not shoot the ball exceedingly well on Sunday afternoon against Michigan. That sometimes happens when you go on the road. but they still scored 84 points. It goes to show you why they are so dangerous and why most of us believe they are a different team than the team that we saw lose to FDU in round 1 of the NCAA tournament a year ago. We'll have much more on the Boilermakers coming up in just a bit as they do pick up their 14th Big Ten win of the season. But our next stop is East Lansing, and perhaps the game, certainly the finish of the day, into the first half. Clock winding down, Michigan State by 8. Tyson Walker, that thing is going to bring rain. Michigan State goes into the half, up by 10. Ohio State, no offense whatsoever, just 22 points. Second half action, under 12 to go. Spartans are still up by 10. Cohen Carr can throw down with the best of them. Had almost no room on the baseline, no issues. Spartans, however, would score 9 points in the final 11 minutes and 56 seconds of this game, allowing Ohio State back in. Felix Okpara makes it a 1-point contest. Michigan State still up 1. Tyson Walker with the drive to put the Spartans up by 3. But Ohio State would come back, tie it up at the free throw line. Walker misses a key late free throw, and just before the buzzer, Dale Bonner says ball game. Ohio State 60-57. Buckeyes led for all of 6 seconds in the game, but they led at the most important time. Jake Diebler does it again.
We earned the right to play well because of how we finished last game. I believe that our guys finished the Minnesota game in a manner that gave us a chance to transition to this building against, obviously, like Hall of Fame, all-time coach, a veteran team who is like certainly capable of doing special things this postseason. So, you know, our guys stayed together. I think that's the biggest thing, and they kept fighting, and we did that throughout the course of this game.
Well, it was a very disappointing. You lead for all but 0.06 seconds, tied for about a minute. And yet we didn't deserve to win the game. They deserved to win the game. I made plays. I mean, it's hard to say what our defense was. We hold them to 24 and 10 the first half. They make 3 threes the whole game. Just such a shame for me. I mean, the crowd was unbelievable. It's almost like these players, you know, sometimes they expect everybody to give to them. They got to give something back to the crowd. And we didn't do that. And I didn't, they didn't, and that was disappointing.
Tom Izzo brings up a great point. Look at the stat sheet and tell me, if you're Ohio State, how you win a game in which Roddy Gale misses 7 shots, Bruce Thornton misses 9 shots, Evan Mahaffey goes 0 for 4, Dale Bonner 2 of 8, the one was pretty big, and Jamison Battle doesn't even play. And you find a way to win, you do it with nearly half of your points coming from bench guys.
Yeah, you took the words right out of their mouth. Their 2 best players had terrible games offensively, 23 points on 23 shots. Jamison Battle doesn't play, but they had other guys step up in a major way. You think of Devin Royal, the Ohio Mr. Basketball, hasn't had many opportunities this season, but he showed up and played extremely well today on the road. 14 points in the game, a couple key steals down late. They had 24 bench points as a team to Michigan State's 10. When Ohio State gets some production from their younger guys, it takes them to another level to finish this season. And then this last play, like you said, Rick, Dale Bonner had been struggling from the field, but comes up with this huge make at the end of the game to seal this victory. I love how the first player off this bench was Jamison Battle, celebrating his teammates with a bum ankle. He understood how big of a win this was, and he went to celebrate the freshman.
You mentioned younger players, and today Tom Izzo changed his starting lineup. He put Xavier Booker into the starting lineup at center, and it worked. When he was out there, the ball moved, the team moved, he ran the floor, and they scored 40 points in the first half. Second half, they're still up by 10 when he comes out of the game and never returned. They scored 17 points in the final 15 minutes after he left the game. That's not the whole story, but it's part of the story, and part that I'd really like to understand why he never went back in that direction.
Well, you know, Coach Izzo's an amazing coach, and he's had so many wins and beat me so many times. I just suggest right now he plays with a lot of big guys, and it's not. I said this yesterday. You can be too big, and you can't guard everybody, or you can't score, or you can't do some things. You know, they're a little smaller with Booker, but just a new player. But there's those big guys are giving everything they have, but when are they really producing baskets for Michigan State? I think they have to examine that and see if there's another way, because lose Iowa at home, now lose at home to Ohio State. It's got to send some flags up. Maybe I got to make a change.
As a coach, though, can you tell, though, maybe it's searching a little bit? I mean, we even saw for a little bit Jackson Kohler and Carson Cooper on the floor at the same time in this game when it seemed like going big wasn't helping. You have two bigs who rarely play together on the floor at the same time.
It's so hard to play two bigs today. It is so hard. We've already talked on this show about one big and then a whole bunch of guys that can play. You know, and I don't care what size they are. It's nice if they're both 6'7" in the forwards, but it is hard to play that many bigs, and over time it just will affect you. Maybe for a possession or two.
Yeah, we'll check out the standings as well and see how this loss affects Michigan State. The double bye, you're almost waving goodbye to it at this point. Now it's a matter of making sure you at least earn that single bye. Don't put yourself at risk of having to play on Wednesday after the loss to Ohio State. Nebraska, Minnesota from PBA, where the Huskers, they're not completely unbeatable, but they've been pretty close to that so far this year, especially if everybody gets going. Guys like Keisei Tominaga didn't have a monster game, but he's going to fire up the crowd anyway. Bryce Williams did have a big game, did a little bit of everything, gets the steal, goes coast to coast. You know what? I'm just going to do all of this by my lonesome. 15-8 for Williams, part of an 8-0 Nebraska run. C.J. Wilcher trying to call the timeout for Ben Johnson. Minnesota trying to stay close. How about Parker Fox off the bench? Had 8 in the first half. That's the good news. Minnesota's starters combined for 12 in the first half. That's not good news. Nebraska pulling away second half off the Tominaga miss. Juwan Gary to Williams, bucket. Huskers up double digits. And this is pure Nebraska ball. Josiah Alec, the block. Rink Mass saves it going out of bounds. Williams in transition, finds Gary, load up, release, splash. Gary, a career-high 22. Nebraska 73-55. That's 20 wins this season. Just settles as with the winners.
Coach, congratulations. Another dominant defensive performance by your guys.
Yeah, we came out of the gate, I thought, really active. We got deflections, and when we have activity with our hands like that, that's generally a good sign. And, you know, I just love the way our guys are buying into our defense right now, following the game plan. Did a great job on the boards for the most part in the first half. I think they got 5 offensive, got a little loose there in the second, but we end up winning the battle of the boards by 6, and we turned the ball over 11 times, and several of those were at the end of the game. So we take care of those 2 areas, Jess. We're usually in pretty good shape.
Juwan Gary has been on a tear. What do you love about his game?
I love everything about the kid. He just comes to work every day. He's a warrior. He does a little bit of everything. He's one of the best glue guys in the country. He's been working tirelessly on his shot, so it's good to see those 3 balls going in. He made his free throws tonight as well. Great finisher inside. He does everything for us on the other end. So just really proud of him for what he's done and what he's overcome, and we're going to need him down the stretch.
Juwan, the last couple of games, you've been one of the best players in the country. Where's this confidence coming from?
This is something I always have. You know, my teammates look at me as a leader, so I go out there every game, every practice, just with the mindset, I'm going to lead my team. Nothing special, man. I'm just a hard-working player who just go out there and make things happen. You know, like I tell everybody, and everybody know I'm a dog out there. You know, whether it's I'm scoring 20 points a game, 2 points a game, but in the day, I'm going to go 100% on the defensive end and give everything I got on that court.
Just to clarify, that's dog with a W in the middle. Nebraska's tournament resume just gets better with each passing game. 20 wins for just the 7th time in program history. They have 4 wins combined against quad 1 and 2 opponents. Yes, they've only won 3 times this year away from Pinnacle Bank Arena, but they don't really have any damning losses. Mike DeCourcy right now has them as a 10 seed. Maybe hinted us throughout the course of Sunday that it could go up to a single-digit seed at his next release. But, John, there was one thing that was never in doubt, and that was Nebraska's defense and how connected they were on that side of the floor Sunday night.
And that dog right there, Juwan Gary, he's leading the way. But same thing with Josiah. I mean, it is amazing how they move and they're together. They're always in help defense. And here's the key thing, Rick, is they can guard their own man enough so they don't need help. So you can stay. Minnesota couldn't get 3-point shots off today or good ones because nobody was helping because they could guard their own guy. And the length is incredible. So, Coach Hoiberg really knows how to coach. They got a great defensive scheme. I'm moving up right now with Nebraska. I found a new favorite team.
They kind of needed to defend well because they only shot 40% from the field.
Yeah.
But that defense, Elijah Hawkins.
Yes.
Elijah Hawkins had 2 assists today. I think the only way to get Elijah Hawkins to 2 assists is to allow tackling into basketball. But he did it. They did it. It was a tremendous defensive performance all around, and I really liked the way they ran their offense. They got the ball to Rinkmass at the top of the key and allowed him to direct the offense. It worked beautifully. Even though they didn't shoot very proficiently, they certainly did the damage that they needed to do on offense.
Yeah, coming to this game, being a must-win situation, if you tell Nebraska fans Tominaga and Rinkmass are going to go 5 for 19, only score 16 points, you're going to shoot 39% of the team, you're going to feel like you're going to lose that game. But they had other guys step up. Coach, you mentioned it, the dog, Juwan Gary, 22 points, 8 rebounds, 4 or 7 from deep. He was big time on both ends of the floor. The play that stood out to me in that highlight, it was Josiah Allen getting the block, Rinkmass saving the basketball, Bryce Williams pushing it, Juwan Gary knocking down the 3, and all 4 of those guys, even the 5th guy on the court, celebrated like they each had made that shot. They are connected on both ends of the floor. They cheer for each other. They love each other. And that's what it looks like at this time of the season. And then the guy that stepped up over the last few games has been Jamarcus Lawrence. Shot it terribly from the three-point line going over this course of this season. Made 5 of 5 against Indiana, 3 of 4 in this game on Sunday. And that's big time because C.J. Wilcher hasn't made a shot since that Wisconsin game. 2 for 17 from deep. They needed another guy to step up and make
maybe
some
the
shots.
only question mark for Nebraska in their postseason status, which is not in question in my opinion right now, they don't have any more opportunities to really improve their resume. The 3 games remaining are Ohio State, Rutgers, Michigan. So in all likelihood, the next chance for them to get a quality win will be in the Big Ten tournament in Minneapolis. The good news, they probably don't need any more quality wins, just need to avoid a bad loss. More from the men's game still to come here on Beyond. We'll show you how the Terps completely shut down the Scarlet Knight offense to earn a rare road win on the Banks. Plus, what all of Saturday's results mean in the race toward the single and double byes in Minneapolis as the Big Ten tourney bracket continues to take shape. And Iowa pulls away late as Caitlin Clark adds another triple-double to her record resume. Complete women's recap is on the way next.
Welcome back to Beyond. Justine Fernandez alongside Autumn Johnson. Iowa, Indiana, Ohio State, all great teams sitting atop the Big Ten, but none greater than Ohio State, who coming into Sunday needed 1 win to lock up a share of the regular season title, taking on Maryland at home. And it was senior day in Columbus. J.C. Sheldon also had a big game. Here she knocks down the 3 to put Ohio State up 13 headed into the half. Third quarter, J.C. Sheldon shoots the 3, misses.
A second opportunity because she followed her shot to get it inside.
Ohio State up by 10. End of the third, Maryland getting some transition basketball. Jakia Brown-Turner on the fast break gets the layup. 5-point game headed into the fourth. 7 minutes to go. Alexander knocks down the 3. She had a few of them in this game. Maryland down by 6. Fourth quarter, Cody McMahon drains this 3. Ohio State goes on to win 79-66. Here's Megan McEwen with J.C. Sheldon.
J.C., a 5-point game headed into the fourth quarter. What did it take to close this one out?
Yeah, I think just composure from our end. We knew Maryland was going to keep fighting back. They're a really good team, so we always have battles with them. So we stayed ready and stayed consistent and just stay together.
Speaking of staying together and staying consistent, you have won games in so many different ways. What did you learn about your team tonight?
Oh my gosh, it's really fun because, as you said, we have won in so many different ways, and I think that's encouraging, obviously for us, but I think moving forward too, because I think we still have a long way to go. So I think it's exciting to look forward to.
You do clinch a share of the Big Ten title with a win today, and you clinch the #1 seed in the Big Ten tournament. How much confidence does that give you?
Yeah, we still want to win. We want to win it, and we want to win, our next game against the team up north. So that's our focus.
Always focus on the rivalry games, JC. Thank you so much.
Checking in on another top 5 team Fourth-ranked Iowa taking on Illinois. Caitlin Clark emblem, it's official, placed on the court. That's where she broke the scoring record. Second quarter, Caitlin Clark dishing it to Molly Davis. Nice layup there for her. Iowa leads 50-34 at half. Third quarter, and this is just classic Caitlin Clark.
Guard her when she gets off the bus. Caitlin Clark is making her own range out there.
Fourth quarter, and she is a great assist machine. Here's to Hannah Stolke down low. Iowa up 17. Couple minutes later, let's show you another three, shall we?
Why not? Right at three. She makes it look so easy.
She sure does. Iowa goes on to win 101-85. Here's Lisa Bluter after the game.
Really happy with the way we shot the ball tonight from a variety of people. I mean, we have 4 people in double figures, almost 6 people in double figures. And for us to be really successful, that's what we have to be. And tonight, and this is kind of tongue-in-cheek and funny, but, when Caitlin's having a little bit of an off night, shooting 47% and getting a triple-double, are you kidding? That's amazing. She has 15 rebounds and 10 assists. But I just love that other people stepped up tonight and took responsibility for those shots. And I love the balance that we had.
So I didn't really see it until I came out for warm-ups. I knew because Coach Bluter had told me about it. But I don't know. It's cool. Honestly, seems a bit further back than where I actually shot it from. But that's where they claim I shot it from. So it was funny. Gabby and Kate and Jada were trying to shoot it from there. But it's super special. I don't know. That's something I'll always remember in a shot that, I'll always remember. But yeah, I'm just thankful for this university, the athletic department that wanted to do that. They didn't have to do that, and just kind of honoring myself in that way and this team in that way it's super special.
And some more emblems may be on the way. Caitlin Clark closing in on some more history. She's in sole possession as the leading scorer in women's NCAA D1 basketball history. But if we look going back to the AIAW days, she's in line for surpassing Lynette Woodard, who set the most points in women's major college basketball. Oh, and by the way, she's just 50 points from surpassing Pistol Pete for the most points in men's major college basketball. Just incredible. You think about what she does for this team night in and night out. And Autumn, you have the Hawkeyes as a solid 2 seed as we look to March Madness. What would need to happen for them to lock up a 1 seed?
They've been on and off that one line, and some unranked slip-ups have put them at the 2 seed for now, but they still have an opportunity now reaching to the stretch of conference play. They still have Minnesota. They still have Ohio State on their radar. Ohio State, they saw this team earlier, and they got the best of them that one. They're looking for a rematch and possibly a Big Ten championship rematch that we'll get very soon. I'm excited to see how these teams fare, but I think if it's everyone, like Lisa Bluter mentioned, if it's everyone by committee buying in, Caitlin Clark's going to get hers, but teams are going to come after her, face guarding her, boxing one, you name it, to try to neutralize her game. When people are stepping up like the vets, Kate Martin, Gabby Marshall, Hannah Stolke, you name it, this team has the weapons to do it. No one's slowing down this #1 offense in the nation. Everyone around Caitlin Clark, the supporting cast, is getting the job done too.
Let's switch to Ohio State, who has not lost in 2024 with the win versus Maryland. They lock up a share of the regular season Big Ten title, as well as the #1 overall seed heading into the Big Ten Conference Tournament. How have they accomplished what they've done so far this season?
I mean, they're one of the hottest teams in the nation right now on a 14-game winning streak, and they've done it by committee. The balance has done it for me. This team has depth, they have balance, they have the offense, and they have the defense. That press is suffocating, but the fact that you have so many vets and so many people that can score in different ways, and the fact that they brought in Celeste Taylor, who's really just bought into their entire identity as a defensive monster on this team, a two-way player alongside J.C. Sheldon, they're dangerous. And the fact that, they have Iowa coming up very soon, we'll see what they can do against them again, but they just have Michigan and Iowa. I think these are winnable games for them, and I feel like this is a Final Four team when it's all said and done because they have all the full pieces and they're a full package.
And this is an Ohio State team with tons of postseason experience. They made it to the Elite Eight last year. Let's take a look at the standings, and we talked about the race at the top, but really we want to narrow in on that 4 and 5 race because man, is that line tight. It would take a lot for Nebraska to fall out. They own the tiebreaker, But Autumn, you have been saying this since this season started. You really like this Michigan State team.
The Spartans are a sleeper, I'm trying to tell y'all, and they're doing it with both efforts, I would say. Top offense and the rate that they turn over teams. They have this press that is suffocating, just like Ohio State's that we've seen constantly. Robin Fralick, in this new era, her first year as a head coach, has brought this team in and has everyone bought in on all ends, I would say. And the fact that they've been into these games when they have those single-digit losses, their losses aren't bad. They've battled with Ohio State, Iowa, and Indiana, have only fallen to those teams by single digits. And they have Illinois coming up next and Wisconsin. I have them as a 7th seed. They haven't went to the NCAA tournament since 202021. This is their year.
She's saying it.
I'm just saying.
Maybe put money on that one. But let's check in on another race that's really close, and that's Wisconsin. And this game Sunday could have some seeding implications. They're taking on Purdue. Under 4 minutes in the second, that's Janae Terry to Caitlin Harper. She knocks down the three. We want to show you that one again. Purdue would extend their lead to 5. End of the second. This was a close one in the first half. Natalie Leitzinger in the corner. Wide open three. Wisconsin would trim the lead to 3, 34-31 at half. Under 2 minutes left in the third, Rashonda Jones to Harper, 3. The lead at 1 point for Purdue, 14 points. They hold on to win pretty dominantly, 79-55. And Tuesday, Mackenzie Holmes leads the Hoosiers against the Wildcats. Coverage begins at 7 Eastern, only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. From here, we'll send it back to Rick.
Justine, thank you. When we come back, why at least one of our experts does not believe Purdue is yet a lock to win the conference crown, plus why this week is so important in the world of Big Ten tournament buys for the likes of Maryland and Northwestern. A lot of red on the banks. Rutgers hosting Maryland first half. Scarlet Knights down by 4. Andre Hyatt here. Cliff Amore there. Cliff can dunk with the best of them. Quiet game, though, for Cliffy. Just 5 points, 2 field goals made. Credit Julian Reese. Later first half, Jameer Young to Jordan Geronimo. That is sick. Geronimo had 11 and 11. 17-4 run by the Terps to close the first half, and then it's Reese putting defenders on spin cycle and cleaning up. Had a game-high 20 points, added 6 rips. Dante Scott finds the hot guy. Maryland wins it 63-46. A little bit of extra defensive coverage on Reese. He says no issues. I've been working on that.
I've been trying to, work on, make that an emphasis and working on that in practice. Double teams and just kicking it out, taking it slow. That's why I get up to slow start scoring. I started off the first 10 minutes with like 2 points, and that's when I open stuff up by passing out of the double teams, and that's when they slow the double team, and I just start to score more like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch us play, my guys play really hard. They're really good defensively. We have really struggled shooting the basketball this year. It's just been one of those years, unfortunately. We've been in every game. We've missed some tough free throws. We've missed some open shots at the end of games. So we just we practice it, and we know that there's a pretty good chance that we might not make that shot. So the best thing to do is just go get it. And so we've kind of gotten used to when we shoot it that we're going to go get it. It's kind of our best offense.
Is it frustrating? I mean, this league is tough. I mean, every game's different. There's really good teams, really good coaches, and so when you're in a stretch like that, you still got to figure out a way. And I thought we could kind of claw ourselves back into this basketball game. I held them 63 points, but can't put up 46. That's not where we want to be. And obviously against a team like that, and they got us on the inside. They made their free throws. Just a lot of things that we didn't do.
Back inside our studio, Rick Pizzo joined by Rayfel Davis, Mike DeCourcy, and John Beilein. Julian Reese in the non-Zach Edey category had a really good shooting day. He was 8 of 11 from the field. That's 73%, just 5% behind Edey's ridiculous 78 from the field. But there was no answer for Julian Reese, and he didn't just do it on one end on Sunday. He did it on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, when you're going to play Rutgers, the first thing you have to do is embrace the physicality of the basketball game, and Julian Reese did that and more. Just took the fight right to Cliff Amore in the Rutgers front court. 20.6 rebounds, 2 blocks. He was sensational on both ends of the floor. It wasn't just his offense like you mentioned, Rick. Defensively, he held Big Cliff to 5 points, 2 of 6 from the field, and then they had other guys step up. I thought Jordan Geronimo was big time. His 11 points, 11 rebounds, 7 of them offensively. That was big, especially on a day when Jameer Young, one of the better point guards in the country, he gets him 12 points, 9 assists, but he was 2 of 9 from the field. Couldn't buy a basket.
Julian Reese, Dante Scott, Jameer Young, the 3 solid veterans that we thought were going to make this team great. Well, they're not letting this season go without a fight. They went on the road to one of the more difficult arenas in the Big Ten Conference, and they got a road win. Those 3 players combined for 43 of their team's 63 points. They are continuing to battle, and that's exactly what you want out of a team that is not in the position they thought they would be.
You know, it's not the norm today, and it was many years ago, to play zone defense. It's just not normal. And Coach Willard went to that today. They say, we're playing on the road. We're playing Rutgers. They're not a very good shooting team. So let's play this zone, protect the paint. We're going to neutralize Amori a little bit, just box him out. I mean, it was special the way their defense performed today. And they're good in man-to-man. Now you take all those good man-to-man players, and now they play zone. There was a proudful type of effort by them, and a huge win, a really great win. That was my second biggest surprise of the day.
Especially to win on the road
yes.
in a really tough place to play, because Maryland has not been a very good road team in 2 years under Kevin Willard. This is a little bit of a boost of confidence as you get ready to head into the postseason at the Big Ten tournament, being able to win away from College Park. Speaking of the postseason and the Big Ten tournament, here are the standings and where the teams would be seeded if the tournament started tonight. It's a little bit late for that. Purdue at 14-3 right now with that 2.5-game lead over Illinois. Now, the Boilermakers have played 17 games. Illinois has only played 16, so the Illini do have a little bit of time to make up some ground. Wisconsin and Northwestern right now at 10-6 are the other 2 teams that would enjoy the double byes. But as we start with the discussion, for the race for the Big Ten title, it appears to be Purdue's to lose. I think we all agree on that. John, however, does not believe this is a given at this point.
No, you guys, we've been putting that crown on them for months now. They're the best team. They're going to win. They have to play 3 NCAA tournament type of teams left. And Illinois, I've seen this before. It's down to the last week, and people are thinking about other things, and all of a sudden one loss by Purdue right now, and then the Illinois-Purdue game coming up is going to be huge. They got to go to Wisconsin. Who else they have?
They have Michigan State this week in a week.
They have a difficult schedule, and any letdown, they could have 2. You see what happened today. There could have been an easy chance today that Michigan could have beaten them today. So they're vulnerable. Ohio State has already beaten them. Just don't give it to them yet. It ain't over until it's over, all right?
That's why you play the games, because I agree with you, Coach. You look at what Purdue struggles against this season throughout the year. It's been quickness on the perimeter. You look at what Michigan State presents, 3 guards that can go get their own baskets. If this is a game where Michigan State's perimeter players, when they're hooked up, when they're going, when they're in transition, Purdue struggles to guard when you have to guard 3 perimeter guys. They get that Illinois game at Illinois. If Illinois is able to win out, they're going to have some added motivation. The crowd is going to be into the game. Terrence Shannon didn't play in that first matchup against Purdue. That also presents 3 guards that can go and get their own bucket. When you think of Terrence Shannon, Marcus Domask, and Coleman Hawkins, if Purdue takes care of business, they're going to win it, obviously. But they got some games in front of them that present some trouble. I'm looking forward to it.
They have to earn it.
I'm glad that everything that we do here on set is recorded, because in a week's time, Purdue has Michigan State in West Lafayette next week. Wisconsin and Illinois have to play each other. Could be having a very different conversation in some 7 days. I'm not saying it's going to be completely over, but clearly a huge advantage for the Boilermakers. Yeah. One thing that will not likely be decided, Mike, until the final day of the regular season, those single and double byes. You see how tight the separation is between Wisconsin, Northwestern, Nebraska, to be able to get that single bye. And then you look down at that second red line, and it is equally as tight, even more snug, between the likes of Iowa, Maryland, Rutgers, Indiana, trying to avoid playing on Wednesday night. And you feel like this year, making sure that you start on Thursday as opposed to Wednesday is even more important than it has been in other years.
I especially look at Maryland, Iowa, Penn State. Those 3 teams are all dangerous. The kind of teams in this particular season, Purdue is, we've talked about it, they're clearly the best team in the league. They're going to be a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament, all of that. But you go into the Big Ten tournament and you can't be certain that tournament title is a huge deal for Purdue, because if they get the regular season crown, that will clinch a #1 seed without a doubt. And so that tournament is just extra games maybe for them. It won't make a difference for their March. And given the way the last 2 Marches have ended, I think the focus toward the NCAA tournament will be even greater. And so it opens the door for a team like a Maryland. If they really are energized and connected in the way they were today on the road, and they play their best basketball, and obviously they're going to have to make some shots at some point in the tournament, but if they do that, then they're dangerous. And we've seen teams from deep in the standings win against teams at the top of the standings of every league in the country. Every major league has had those kind of games, and I think this year's tournaments will be like that in every location.
Rafael, you're a lot more reserved than you were when you were having this conversation in the green room with Mike about whether Purdue will be fully locked in during the Big Ten tournament, even though knowing regardless of what happens, they're probably going to be a 1 seed.
Oh, I completely disagree, because you go back to last season, they knew they would be the #1 seed if they won the Big Ten conference race. They did that, and what did they do? They went on to win the Big Ten tournament championship. I've been in Coach Painter's locker room. He cares about winning Big Ten championships, whether it's the Big Ten championship, the Big Ten tournament. He puts a lot of emphasis on it. And then when you see those teams that are winning, that are locked for #1 seeds, when they have those letdowns, it's from their leaders. It's when their leaders don't show up. We haven't seen a game this season where Zach Edey hasn't shown up with his effort, with a mature approach. Braden Smith has been big time down the stretch, and now they got Lance Jones going. I think Purdue is going to go into this game with a mindset, not just from last year, but that St. Peter's game is still weighing on them. They got a chance to get 4 rings, and they should be able to do it.
Let me say, in no way am I saying Purdue will be disengaged, but there's a difference between having incentive and greater incentive.
A ring is
That's
an
my
incentive.
point. I understand that, but the ring that they really want is the one that says Final Four or more on it.
Your point is that there's a difference between wanting to win and needing to win, and Purdue would not need to win once they get to Minneapolis. Coming up next, we take on this week's hot topic, the good, bad, and ugly with court storming. What could be done to protect players while still giving fans their moment? We'll discuss when Beyond returns.
We've never seen a school say that they wouldn't pay the fine. They basically invite the fine because they're so happy that they won the big game, and they use it almost as a marketing tool. And I think that you have to protect player safety, and I don't believe that there's any way to do that other than to keep it from happening.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. The SEC, $100,000 first offense, $250,000, then $500,000, and they're happy to pay it. John, you've been on both sides of this issue.
You know, I've been at those games where our team, got stormed on a lot, and then we've had some incredible wins where our own fans did it. The safety of the student athletes should come first, and we got to find a way to do that. And I think we have to educate and grow from it. Teams have to learn how to listen. If you're a good team, you're going to get stormed, and you better educate your players and listen. Here's what we're doing. Before that game is over, we're on our way to the bench, and we're out of there. And then schools have to beef up that security so that there's at least some pause before the buzzer goes off. And then if they run through, then you got to fine people. But I think everybody can get educated better instead of just saying, oh, that's too bad or we got to stop it. There's another level we can get to.
Yeah, and I think there should be a separation between the fans and the players. You think this season, so many times we've seen a player say one little thing to a crowd and he get teched up and it changed the whole momentum of the basketball team. But we don't care about what happens to the players. These fans run on the floor, they run into the players, they want to have their moment. During the game, the players aren't allowed to even interact with the crowd. So I don't believe after the game the crowd can interact with the players. Could be an old school take, but I strongly believe there should definitely be a separation.
And this, to me, when you're at any major event, there are ropes that are on the sidelines. Yeah. That's not going to keep the kids back from storming the courts, but it may give the players an extra 5 to 10 seconds to get off the floor. And that's the biggest issue. Fans run on the court, they hurt themselves. That's their issue. That's their decision to go on the court. But we need to make sure the players and the coaches are protected before entertainment becomes more important. All right, Advanced Scout is on the way when Big Ten basketball and beyond returns. Find out why our guys believe Coleman Hawkins could be the guy and one of the keys for a deep Illini run in March. And Mr. Cooley will be our guest on Monday's edition of Big Ten Today. Time now, though, for Advanced Scout. And Mike, it's been quite an eventful week for Illinois' Coleman Hawkins. We've all had bad weeks, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Absolutely. After the game, the Penn State game that Illinois lost in the final seconds, Coach Brad Underwood brought in his star senior center, Coleman Hawkins, and said, we need to have a talk, a long talk. And that long talk produced a great result yesterday, but I wonder how many times he watched the tape we're about to go through now, because it seems like everything's right. There's 45 seconds. The shot clock is running down. Terrence Shannon takes about as much of it as you can, and the rebound comes out, and it's not available to Illinois. But Coleman Hawkins runs after it anyway when he should be running back on defense, because the clock is your friend in that circumstance. You have a 7-point lead. You have very little time left for the Penn State Nittany Lions to catch you, but because he ran into the front court for a rebound that was not available, he left them completely exposed on the defensive end, and they wound up giving up a three-pointer and then ultimately losing the game in a pressure situation. That result was exactly what they can't have if they're going to continue on through March successfully.
Yeah, and of course, Hawkins was the one that fouled Nick Curran, who made the 3 deciding free throws. But, John, he learned from it. And as Mike said, Brad Underwood said, we're going to have a long talk. And then in the weekend win over Iowa, we saw what Coleman Hawkins is capable of providing.
Well, you don't have the type of career that he's had, where it doesn't play at all as a freshman, just nominal minutes as really a sophomore, starts to come along. I wasn't a big fan when I first watched him. He's growing on me crazy, like maybe the highest ceiling of anybody anywhere with what he can do. Just watch a few of these things. We're talking about a 6'10" kid. The shot clock's down. He takes a look at the clock and just drains it. I mean, that is very rare. Watch, he gets himself into a little trouble here, right, and ends up turning around, seeing an open body, and a great hook pass in for a basket. Now he reads the defense here. He's reading the D, sees a little trouble, comes up, gets a finger on the ball, one dribble, and he's at the rim. So he's making these steps, and with this great look at these stats right here.
Amazing growth in 4 years.
That's old-time college basketball. That's North Carolina. That's Michigan. That's all the great programs. That's how it used to happen. He's like I said, he's maybe their best NBA prospect in a long time. He's terrific.
He's a guy that stayed 4 years and got better for 4 years. And because he has stayed and is able to do what he does, Raphael, this Illinois defense is really tough to penetrate.
Yeah, you saw it on that last clip of Coach's tape when Coleman Hawkins was able to shoot that gap, go get a steal, push the break for a dunk. Hooked up Coleman Hawkins on both ends, take this Illinois team to maybe a Sweet 16 team to a Final Four team. One of the only players in college basketball that could successfully guard 1 through 5. You could switch 1 through 5. There's no let off with Coleman defensively, but when he commits to that level, that's what happens for Illinois on the defensive end.
I will say this, he is an emotional player. His emotion can really help Illinois when he keeps it in check. When he doesn't, like he did not during the loss to Purdue and West Lafayette, it hurts the Illini. I think that will be a key for Brad Underwood.
I had a saying he could be the MVP for either team.
Yes.
And maybe he was that for Penn State.
You'd prefer to be the MVP for your own team.
That's right.
And I didn't win nearly as many games coaching as you did. The road ahead is next. We'll examine these 7-day stretches awaiting the likes of Wisconsin, Northwestern, and Nebraska when Beyond returns. Just enough time for us to wrap things up with the road ahead. John, your focus is on the Wisconsin Badgers. Their week includes a road trip to Indiana and a home game against the Illini.
Coach Gard is a great teacher of the game, and they have had a bad February. So they have been, I'm sure, the fundamentals that they need to work on has to get them ready. This is a huge week for them.
You can see that Saturday game against Illinois right here on the Big Ten Network. Mike, Northwestern, a team right now comfortably in the tournament, hoping for that double bye. They travel to Maryland midweek, and then they're home against Iowa on Saturday.
Every game for Northwestern in advance feels a little bit like a delicate dance since Ty Berry's been lost for the year, but Ryan Langborg has allowed them to play like a top 30 offense in college basketball with his great play, and they have won 4 of 5 essentially with Ty being absent for part of the first game.
And Raphael, Nebraska should be favored in all of their remaining games starting this week with a road trip to Ohio State and then a home weekend game against Rutgers.
And I want to really see Nebraska's focus level because these games can't really help them much, but it can really hurt them if they lose them. They got to take that defense that they played against Minnesota and help it make it travel with them. They got to find a way to get Rink Masco and C.J. Wilcher. But if they keep Juwan Gary and Bryce Williams scoring the ball like they did on Sunday, let me cooking with gas.
Warning signs everywhere. Every coach in the league who thinks his team believes they're a favorite will show Dale Bonner's three-point winner for Ohio State against Michigan State to get his team back in line. For John, Mike, and Rafael, I'm Rick. Thanks for hanging on Beyond.